Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast, starts now.
Hello, all you Liverpool fans here in America and beyond. I bet you're all crying into your beers tonight after yesterday's results. Is that you, Salim?
Yeah. The last 15 minutes of the game, I told myself I need to calm down. And although some of my friends decided to walk out on the game, stuck it out to the end. But yeah, crying into our drinks, into our beers, into our whiskeys in my case. Yeah, for sure.
Well, actually, before we actually get into the game itself, I have a message for Adidas and actually anybody else that ever makes soccer kits or uniforms, as they say in this country. No more green. No more green, because whenever Liverpool has green, whether it's a shirt or, even a couple of years ago when they had little green trim on the red shirts, Liverpool never does well. So, I think that we've got to start a campaign. No more green. No more green. So
Hashtag no more green. I love it.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. But anyway, so I suppose obviously we've been talking through the weeks. We were getting some wins without playing brilliantly, and then we went through that phase where we had 3 Premier League games in succession where we went behind, we got back in, and we lost to late goals. So there was that, and the truth is the Brentford game wasn't like that. Liverpool were pretty poor. Actually, I would rate this as their worst performance of the season so far. So I don't know if you had a similar feeling about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Worst performance for Liverpool by a long shot. I was amazed at the lack of work rate. Brentford was hungry. They were getting after every ball, second ball, third ball, they were winning. Um, they had a very clear game plan. Obviously, those long throws were impacting us, got them an early lead, and it just did not. Everything we did seemed very labored, and everything Brentford did seemed very effective and threatening.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Brentford, I think, I made a number of forecasts in my newsletter at the start of the season, and whilst a number of them have turned out to be accurate or seem to be accurate so far, I was wrong on Brentford because I feared the fact that they'd lost Thomas Frank, who's a fantastic manager. Then, of course, they'd lost their strike force. I thought that they would struggle this year, or it's possible that they would struggle this year. And actually, I would say business as usual for Brentford. I thought they were very impressive. I think that an advantage that they have, and I think there's going to be several teams that play Liverpool in this situation, is whilst Liverpool is running around Europe playing all those games and everything, Brentford has a week to set up, prepare thoroughly, and I think that was very evident when the game was played. And the thing that was disappointing from a Liverpool perspective was whilst Brentford were well prepared, everything that they were going to do, in a sense, was predictable. And Liverpool just didn't seem ready for it.
Yeah, it's not only ready for it, but just not ready to fight. There was no razor's edge to Liverpool's game. There was no hard tackles, getting stuck in, really like standing up to them. And they just slowly, methodically, just kind of put us in our place. And I tried to think of some of the good things that happened out of there, and there's a couple, but the cons list, as far as all the things that didn't go well versus the things that we can pull out of the game, the cons really outweigh the pros in this situation, in this game. And I had a hard time really picking more than two or three players that played well. Um, Mo Salah got on the score sheet. That was a very nice goal. But he didn't really play that well. I thought Szoboszlai was great again. I thought Curtis Jones played well until he was off the field. And other than that, coach, I don't mean everybody else looked lost. I mean, it's crazy.
It is, and before even discussing players and everything, I mean, if you think back to the results, like these games that Liverpool has lost. The second half against Crystal Palace, Liverpool created chances. Against Chelsea, they created chances. Against Manchester United, they created chances, but they did very little offensively yesterday against Brentford. I mean, Brentford were sitting in the kind of shape that that we expect, and they were really not troubled that much. And so I think that was very disappointing. But for my money, and we talked about this after the Eintracht Frankfurt game, where we were speculating about what kind of team was on put out. I mean, I don't know what the right expression is, but I think in a sense he bottled it, because obviously he didn't play Salah against Eintracht. He just came on for a cameo at the end. And I don't know if I was totally surprised, but he was back in the team. Kirker's back in the team. And I think that when you're coaching and everything, and that's at any level of the game, you coach on what you see. And really, Kirkers and Salah right now, I mean, like, they're good players. And in the case of Salah, he's a legend. But they're just not helping the team right now. And some will say, oh yeah, but they're the guys that scored the 2 goals.
Right.
But overall, they were poor and they were weak links. And I mean, if you look at Mo Salah, for example, I thought he was involved early in the game, but having said that, it was pretty much because he made a string of errors. And then for the longest part of the first half, Liverpool were working the ball up the right side. And I don't know what you were thinking, but I was thinking, where is Salah? I mean, there was Conor Bradley, midfielders were supporting, but I couldn't see Salah. It was kind of like prepared. He just wasn't in the game. So I think the manager really has got to make some hard decisions, and he's got to stick with it. And Salah apparently wasn't happy to be demoted, as it were, in the Champions League game. But
too bad.
Yeah, I think that this is something that the manager has really got to do. I mean, you're right; it was a good goal when it came, but at the end of the day, did that really outweigh the his contribution to the team effort? And I don't think it was anywhere near.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. And one thing I'm kind of noticing from a fight standpoint, right? Willingness to, really compete. Florian Wirtz physically is not wanting to stick his neck in there, and it's starting to show up on multiple occasions. I saw it a few times in a couple of the games past, but in this one, it showed up. He was physically being bullied. He did not want to put his foot in a tackle. He did not want to win a header. It seems like he's playing scared. And that bothered me, because when you see one of your teammates not competing, and it seems like the result just kind of trickled down. And I'm not saying Wirtz, created this stigma that the team didn't want to compete. It just his I don't know, lack of stature in these types of games is really impacting the overall performance. Because when we think about the midfields of the past, we think about Jordan Henderson, right, who had a great game for Brentford. He would get the team fired up. He would get in on tackles. Same thing with Fabinho, same thing with Wijnaldum. Like these were players that drove the team forward and had a certain competitiveness to them that they were not going to be outmatched. And it's the performances are bothering, coach, right? The results are going to be the results. But at the end of the day, Liverpool has always competed, and this is where the main problem lies. And I don't understand why it's not happening. And I'm just kind of singling out Verts as maybe kind of a symbol of how the team is performing.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I totally go with that because he works very hard, and I thought at least he was visible. As I say, I thought Salah was out of the game for just long periods, but yeah, I mean, I think the template is set for playing against Liverpool, which is basically sit in, long ball, physical, and counter attack. I mean, Liverpool have to be prepared to handle that, and so maybe you're right. Maybe we need more of an all physical midfield, but I think basically I would just like to see that the manager uses the fullbacks more consistently. So if you're putting in Bradley on one side and Robertson on the other, you've got two British fullbacks who are physical. And okay, you can say, well, Bradley's young and he makes mistakes. Robertson is older and he's prone to mistakes because he's getting older. But yeah, I just feel for combativeness that you need them, especially if potentially maybe we're not as powerfully strong in midfield, in terms of physicality. I think that's one way that you try to balance that off. And then the other thing that I'd have to say as well is I think Gomez is worth a run because like the second goal, like Konate is half asleep. It's a good ball through, but he's in a position to do something about it. But Kevin Schade just runs by him, and it's like a surprise. So yeah, you've got a number of players that that really aren't fulfilling the bill, and yeah, it'll be very, very intriguing to see how he approaches the Crystal Palace game because
They're good.
What's that? Sorry?
Crystal Palace is good, and they're together, and they've been together for a while. It's a tough team to play.
Right. But from a Liverpool point of view, is it one that the manager's willing to sacrifice? Or does he think, oh gosh, well, we're falling behind in the league. This is a chance for a trophy. So do I go for it? I would play Salah, even after saying everything that I've said, because, okay, he didn't have a great game, but he scored a goal. So is he going to be different now if he plays against Crystal Palace? So, so I would use that as kind of a litmus test for future Premier League games, because obviously, who is it next? Aston Villa, who's just beaten Manchester City. Then you've got Real Madrid. Then you've got Manchester City. So this is a one tough run of games coming up. Yeah, so I think the manager, really has to earn his corn. And I know there's a lot of people are questioning him right now, and I have to be honest, I am a little bit, because as I think we've said from the pre-season situation, this is the year when we see how he coaches. This is his team. He did well last year, as we keep saying. He won the Premier League. He was smart with how he utilised Klopp's squad. But right now he's in a situation where a lot of money has been spent. Hindsight is always 2020. Maybe he tried to force through too many changes too soon. But having said that, I can't see what Liverpool is trying to do collectively. And I've said that from the Bournemouth game onwards. I can't see. What are they trying to do? And then they don't react to what the opposition did. And I think we got a great example yesterday against Brentford because, okay, Brentford scores a second goal, but then they get a lifeline because they pull a goal back. So all of a sudden, it's not 2-0, it's 2-1. But yet Liverpool opened up the second half and they're fiddling with the ball at the back, and Brentford has them in a full press. And you're saying, well, shouldn't this be the time maybe that whether it's the goalkeeper or somebody at the back says, right, let's just play for a little bit of territory, because basically that's what the other teams are doing, like they're playing for territory. So
Right.
why don't we do that a little bit instead of tying ourselves in knots? And basically, so you're getting a succession of throw-ins all the time, and it just keeps the pressure on.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, with the money being spent, FSG fully anticipated that we would be in the running to win um, trophies, but also to be in the top four in the Premier League. I mean, the Champions League is a major, major fundraiser for Liverpool and clubs that play in it.
Mhm.
And now we're in seventh place. We've lost 4 games in a row in the Premier League. And at some point, I'm curious how the club as a whole is going to start to, talk to Slot about what's going on, or how that's going to work, because there's, like you said, there's a lot of money that was spent on this team. Yes, they brought in some money as well, so the total outlay wasn't as outlandish as everybody's making it, but still, we need to be in the top four. And I'm just curious from your standpoint, we have to reset expectations here, right, for us. And we have to say, hey, if we finish top four, top five, that's probably success right now, as we look at it from today on, Sunday, October 26th.
Right. I mean, I suppose on the plus side is it's still early days in the season, like there's a long way to go.
Hmm.
But having said that, it's I mean, how is it going to reset? I mean, I can't see because again, I'm saying, I sound like a broken record here. I can't see what the manager's trying to do game in, game out. And essentially, for me, the two weakest players right now are Kirkaz and Salah. And I thought he sorted them out by not playing them against Eintracht, but no, he had them back in. So I'd have thought that they would be the first players maybe to put to the side, and then just try to set up more consistently. I mean, I think that moving Szoboszlai to right back, I can see why that could be a legitimate tactic, but right now it's not, because they need his competitiveness in the center of the park.
Yeah.
So if everything was going well, I mean, he can do a Trent role at right back, I think, but it's not going well in midfield. So he's been the best player this season. He's got to be there.
Yeah. Coach, from your standpoint, when you see your team not competing, what is it a tongue lashing? Is it a yelling at? Is it the hairdryer treatment? What gets these a team fired up? Because I wasn't the best player, but I was always ready to get after it when I played. And granted, this is a complete other level, and there's money involved, and they play a lot. I understand all that, but just the simple competitiveness of it. How does Slot get them like ready to go, to just from a competing standpoint?
Well, obviously, not being in the dressing room, I can't give you a definitive answer. But I think one thing that would be helpful is by, like I'd mentioned, Konate before, and he has been consistently inconsistent this season. He's had a couple of really good games, but he's also made some errors. And again, I would highlight the Kevin Schade goal, which really he was half asleep. So drop him, put in Gomez. And it's the reverse of what's happened with Gerald Quansah a year ago. So once Konate was in the team, like he was going to work to stay there because he knew that there was the possibility of somebody else. So one thing with Arne Slot is he's highlighted that he didn't rotate enough, but I think sometimes you've got to trust in. I mean, like Joe Gomez. I know he's injury prone, but he's a good defender, and maybe he rates Canate higher. But the point is that if Canate's not doing the business, then you've got to, you've got to give somebody else a crack. And I think that's just football. So I think by having competition, if the players don't feel comfortable, I think that's a way, that you send a message, and hopefully you get them firing more.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so because um, I can deal with losing. I can't deal with not the lack of competitive nature and competitiveness in it. I mean, just watching that game, it was at no point did I feel comfortable that we were getting a foothold of the game. Not even for a minute did I feel that. And that's why I kind of said in the opening, in the last 15 minutes, I just relaxed. I said, "Hey, this isn't the team that we thought it was." And unless something changes drastically, but I was morally upset about the actual. And I know I sound like a broken record too now. I just was really disappointed with the effort.
Right, and so I know there's been suggestions about FSG spending all the money, and that they'll be wanting a quick return and all this kind of stuff. I mean, like, we don't know on the inside what their thoughts are. I mean, I think in my pre-season, I forecast that Liverpool wouldn't win the league this year, and it was just a feeling that I had, and so I suppose that when you look at it under the microscope, you can say, well, there's too many changes, but people were saying things, like the expectations go up, and I think sometimes expectations become unrealistic. So Liverpool sign all these players, so then everyone's saying, oh, well, Liverpool will do better because the squad is stronger. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but the point is that even if it is, it doesn't mean that it's integrated as a team, and that is the difference between this season and last season. Arne Slot inherited a team, like they had a spirit, they had an identity, people more or less knew their roles. And okay, maybe he saw something slightly differently. Maybe he didn't play Endo and Harvey Elliott as much, but he had something that was together. He had something that was functioning, and it did. And he was wise enough and smart enough to to take advantage of that. But here we have a group of players, and right now you have to believe that their confidence is low. The bubble has been burst, and there's a lot of talent there, but it's not going to be an easy task, bringing them back to the surface, as it were. But it's possible. I mean, you've got Aston Villa right now who are on a good run, but they had a pretty poor start to the season, so it can flip. And same with Manchester United as well. Like they lost to Grimsby and everybody's gloom and doom, and then suddenly it turns around. But certainly, I haven't watched Villa play this year, but I've watched a couple of Man United games. You could see what the manager was trying to do, even if it wasn't working. And so I keep coming back to this: what is Arne Slot trying to do with the players that he has? I really don't know.
Coach, you mentioned expectations. What is your current expectation of the team?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer. Like the old cliche is one game at a time, and I think it's very much one game at a time right now. So, whereas, just say if the run had continued as it was earlier in the season, he'd be thinking of rotating players for the Crystal Palace game, a League Cup game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that's the best thing to do all of a sudden. I mean, okay, there's fatigue and everything, but I mean, I would certainly play somebody like an Endo, but he has to go in with it thinking, well, it's not just to give Endo time, but Endo might be part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're bringing in an experienced, combative midfield player, and in a funny way, that's something that Liverpool needs right now. And I mean, as I say, I would play Salah again. I mean, because okay, you've scored your goal. Now, what have you got? What have you got in the League Cup now? I mean, I don't think Crystal Palace will make a whole raft of changes because they don't have a big squad. So, I think they're going to be pretty close to the 11 that they put out on a Saturday.
Is this a top four team? Like, in your opinion?
Liverpool?
Yeah.
Well, on paper, yes, but not the way they're playing right now. No.
Where do you think we end up? After April, May, and I know it's hard to say per se, but I'm just curious, kind of where your mind's at with
I
where you're seeing this.
I don't know. I think that we'll know once we go into the new year. I think we'll have a much clearer indication because you've got this tough run: Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Real Madrid, Manchester City. Bang, 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 bang. Quick succession, international break. So the next 4 games will start to give some strong indications of whether there are signs of things turning around. And then, of course, you've got the run up to Christmas and the Christmas period, which is always pretty high powered and intense and what have you. So we will certainly know after Christmas, and we'll have a strong indication going into the next international break, I would think.
Coach, let's say 3 out of the 4 matches are bad performances and potential losses. Is Slot's job on the line?
Well, I don't know. That's it. I don't know. I mean, modern football is, after he lost a couple of games, some are already crying for his head. So you don't know what the attitude is at FSG. I mean, like, the tradition of Liverpool Football Club is that they don't fire managers easily.
Right.
So, of course, you've got all this paper talk right now because you had that interview with Jurgen Klopp. I don't know if you heard about it.
Was it, are you willing potentially to come back to Liverpool, something like that? And he said, but yeah, maybe that one.
He said hypothetically it's possible. So so I mean, all that does is, and I've already seen an article. I don't know what website it was on, which is basically saying Liverpool could give Slot the chop and bring back Jurgen Klopp. So it's very, very difficult. I mean, I wouldn't fire him.
Yeah.
But I think that the reality is that so much money's been poured into the team that if the owners were to think, oh gosh, well, we may not make the Champions League, which means a huge downturn in terms of income.
Yeah.
Then I suppose it's a little, it's kind of like an inverted relegation, isn't it? Because they bring in managers, like, so that they don't get relegated and they don't lose the Premier League money. Now you're talking about Champions League money. It's at the other end of the table. So it's like an inverted situation.
Right.
I mean, but then the other thing is, well, who are they going to bring in? So, I mean,
yeah.
Who is available?
To be fair to Slot and to FSG, they did their due diligence, when they knew Klopp was leaving. And I'm not I'm being a little hyperbolic here with saying, is his job on the line here? I don't think Liverpool will do anything, but there has to be some sort of improvement. There has to be a style, like like somebody needs to talk to him and say, "Hey, what are we trying to do here? What's the plan?" Because I'm not seeing it, and I'm sure Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, they're eerily quiet throughout this. And what are they thinking about what's happening, and how can they help Slot, kind of break out of it? Because it seems like he's in a funk as well as far as figuring stuff out. And I mean, you say the word Jurgen Klopp, and I start smiling. That's I don't think that's realistic. We all love Klopp. I mean, he's the godfather of modern Liverpool, football, and he's charismatic, and there's so much about him that we all love, and we love the style, and coach, you mentioned it several times last year how you miss him, and you miss the style, and you miss that team and that energy. But it just seems that maybe we're just so used to that exciting team that now it's not that exciting, and just the results are going the wrong way, and that's why we're feeling the way we're feeling about it. But generally speaking, we have to stay behind the team, we have to stay behind the club. This is our club, this is the club we support, and at the end of the day, us as fans need to support them and encourage them and continue to push them, and hopefully they can kind of burst out of this funk that they're in, and start putting in performances, effort, and then which will end up in results.
Yep, that's what we've got to keep our fingers crossed for. And I think the Crystal Palace game, in a funny way, is elevated in its status in as much as we're looking for some kind of performance or performance indicator.
Yeah.
And it won't be easy because, as I said earlier, I don't think Crystal Palace has a huge squad, so it'll be pretty much close to their full 11. I expect Mateta to play. I expect Gahey to play. I know Wharton's had, been carrying an injury. They might choose to limit his time, but I think most of the keys will be there.
And Ishmael Sarr shreds Liverpool.
Yes.
All right. Well, I saw a little interview that Virgil was saying everybody needs to take a good look in the mirror at themselves, and I think that was very well said. I think everybody needs to take a good look at themselves and come out and play for the badge and really put on a performance. We want to see you guys compete. We love you. Like we just want to see you compete.
Okay, then. So I guess we've ended that inquest, and let's hope after Wednesday night's game there's not another inquest.
All right.
Okay. So to everyone out there, thanks for viewing, and please subscribe and feel free to leave comments if you're on YouTube and everything. Always interested to hear your perspective. Okay. Good night, Salim. I'll see you.
Good night, Coach.
Yeah.
All right. See you Wednesday.
Coach and I want to take a second to thank everybody for watching on YouTube or whether you're listening via podcast. Please subscribe or follow the show wherever you consume your content. We are looking forward to continuing to bring you the best Liverpool content out there. We'll see you next time.